Hey, welcome. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about some XRP. So we're on Bitstamp and we're on the weekly time frame. I've encompassed the price action within this channel that dates back to, you can see right here, it's a 7-year neckline. So this goes back to like late 2017, early 2018 for its all-time high right there. And we had price action hop into this channel right around mid-ish 2017. So in essence, price has been going range bound for 7 years. By the way, the goal of this video for me is to talk about price targets for the next 6 months, and that's it. I've heard all kinds of things. I've been in XRP since it was literally 0.007 cents. So I've been following XRP now for quite some time. So I don't want to be that guy that says, hey, it's going to 589. No, I just want to share with you what I'm seeing between now and the end of June. I may be wrong in a good way, so I may miss the targets from a low side, but I want to, just from my perspective, just set some expectations. Then from an Elliott Wave standpoint, I anchored right here to do the wave counts. This is at the COVID low back in March of 2020. This is where, when you see these wave counts, this is where I anchored it. But this is the end of wave 1. Now we've got down here the end of wave 2. This is technically right in there, which is at 29 cents, which is the bottom of wave 2. Then this is what's really exciting, is that we're underway in this third wave. And within that third wave, we've got the end of wave 1, now the end of wave 2, and now we're starting this explosive third wave. And what I'm going to get to here in a second are, what are these green shaded areas? What do they represent? And we've got price action just hanging out just below this neckline of this 8-year channel per se. But before we start talking about what's up here, let's go back to the wave counts. So we've got, this is again, wave 1. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and clearly the fifth waves are really explosive in cryptos, and this is totally normal on this up wave to this fifth wave, which rounds out the 1 wave, and then we're in this corrective pattern for wave 2, and it's an ABC waves, but we've got the bottom of this A wave, the B wave, and then the C wave, which ends right here again at 29 cents. The C wave always has to be lower than the A wave, and now, as I alluded to, we're in this third wave. So we've got the 1, the 2, which I already mentioned this, but this is what I'm going to pinch it a little bit, but this is what I wanted to mention. If you followed some of my other videos, these rectangles, absolutely love them. Nicholas Darvis, dancer in the 1950s, that's what he did for a living, but he used the Barron's magazine to look at charts once a week, because that's when it came out. But he's the one who really put these rectangles on the map. This is what's extremely encouraging. There's 2 things. One, they're typically continuation patterns, and they are measured moves. So if we were to take the top of this channel all the way down to the bottom, and if we were just to eye this, and that puts price somewhere right around up in here, which I'm not going to get to today, because up here is right around in the $50 range. You never know with cryptos, or especially even XRP, it could hit the range. If I'm wrong, I am welcoming my wrong call on this. But in my opinion, first things first. That's what I'm talking about with these green shaded areas here in a second. But from a long-term perspective, just remember, these are measured moves. And not only that, that bigger the base, the higher in space, because we've been technically range bound in this channel again for about 8 years. So this is like a cannon getting ready to be shot off. So before we start talking about what's above this channel in terms of price action, I want to dissect what's going on in here a little bit, just to validate that, yeah, the bottom is in, and it's confirmation that definitely price is moving to the upside. I'm going to move this trend line down here just a little bit. I'm going to lock in this channel that I found. One thing I love about technical analysis is there's patterns. There could be patterns with moving averages. There could be patterns like geometric shapes, such as rectangles, triangles, et cetera, et cetera. But I love these Fibonacci channels. So what I'm going to focus now on is this orange channel, as well as the fibs. These are fib extensions, which are going to act as price targets, as well as overhead resistance. And in some cases, when we do this with support and resistance flips, they will also act as support. But let me just share with you what I'm seeing on this channel. So we had the channel start here, and we just had this price action for, gosh, looks like over a year. Just respect the bottom of this channel. Price fell out of it, totally normal. We just recently had this really explosive move back into the channel. Then we had price action wick the top of it. So I just added this center line to the orange fib channel, and I thought this was interesting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through why I think this is actually the midline of the channel. Not only that, why I think this orange channel matters. So we had a false breakout right here in late 2020. And then we had another false breakout right here, then an aggressive, explosive move to the upside. It fell through, and then we had a nice reaction back up to the upside. And then we reacted nicely here, but we fell through. And then so right here, it's acting as support. And then this is a textbook classic case of the support and resistance flip. So now this is acting as support. However, when price fell through, it's now acting as overhead resistance. And that's why when I bring you to right here, if you can see this, now the midline of the channel is also acting as overhead resistance. And not only that, from a Fibonacci standpoint, if you can see right here, this is the 50% level. This is not a fib number, but it acts as like a whole number. And this makes total sense why we had this allergic reaction, not only to the midline of the channel, but also of the fib line of the 50% level, which, by the way, is at $2.62. And now when price is consolidating right here, which is again 100% normal, when I look at this, all I'm seeing is just a strong bullish bias for price to resolve higher. So hopefully no one's, panicking. There is some risk, which I'll talk about in just a few seconds. But right now, this 382 fib is also acting as support around that $2.07 level. Now, from a risk standpoint, let me just touch on this real quick. If somebody is, interested in buying XRP, I wouldn't buy it now. Why is that? Because price is just literally just shy of this neckline right here. So we don't know what's going to happen. However, when I look at this overall chart, it just seems to me that we've got this bullish bias, and it looks like we're flagging, and that's another continuation pattern. So I fully expect price to hop above it, but until it does, that's when I would be waiting until price was, again, above that midline, more importantly, above that neckline. That's when you want to be buying in. And that's right, by the way, right around $3.17. And then if I did buy in, I'd be doing extremely tight stop loss just below that neckline. So I zoomed out a little bit more so you can see bigger pictures. This is what I was alluding to, why I don't want to get over my skis and talk about these crazy prices for XRP. And I still think that day is coming. But first things first, right? So when price breaks out of these channels, I fully expect it to be explosive. And there's only like one of three things that price can technically do, which I'll talk about in a second. But then when price gets up to this 2.618 level or $12.50, or maybe even the 300% level, which is prices at 1428. This, again, when it gets to this level is when I'll take another look at this, and that's when we can start talking about just some of these crazy prices out there, which I truly believe XRP will eventually get to, especially if the dollar continues to rise. It's going to put a ton of pressure on these other countries in terms of their currencies, and that's not a good thing. And it's called that milkshake theory, if you're familiar with that. But that will also be a great force function for banks in these 2-tier, 3-tier countries to adopt XRP. And if they've already adopted it, flip the switch and turn it on. But again, first things first, when price gets up here, that's when I'm going to personally take another look and see how XRP is doing. But again, between now and the next 6 months, here's the roadmap that I'm seeing. So I've added these wave lines for the wave count. So again, top of the first wave, bottom of the second wave. And I've got up here, I've got the third wave ending right here. And I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, this could be the top of the third wave. But from a symmetry perspective, I just don't think it is. And if I'm wrong, because I still think these targets up here will be hit, I just put back the third wave. And remember, it could either be, this could be the top of the third wave. And then at the end of every third wave, we have a corrective wave, which you can see right here is a fourth wave, which are typically opposite. They're similar, but not in terms of the second wave. So this second wave was fairly long in duration, as an example, and steep in terms of a correction standpoint. And again, fourth waves are typically opposite. I don't know if opposite is the best word, but they're definitely not the same. So thus, that's why this just does not look like the top of a third wave, and this is a fourth wave. This just looks more of a bull flag. Therefore, I think that price is going to run up to this green shaded area, and it makes total sense because what I was alluding to, when price action breaks out of these horizontal rectangles, it's typically explosive, especially when they're multi-year horizontal breakouts. And remember, in this case, we're talking 7 years. So that's why what I'm expecting is we've got this explosive move to the upside coming to this green shaded, which puts price right around the $6.22 to $7.27. And from a Fibonacci standpoint, also makes sense at the 127 or the 138 level. Then, as I alluded to, at the end of every impulse, then we get a corrective pattern. And this is also makes sense to me. So we've got this breakout to finish the third wave. And then we've got this corrective pattern, the fourth wave. But in this case, it's a pullback. And pullbacks down to the neckline is also 100% normal. But also, I just want to say this. This is where the big money. So if we get price coming back down here to this neckline, as well as the top of this midline for the fib channel, this is going to be an explosive move. So when I look at the price action, this is what I'm envisioning. Again, so we could have price hang out right here. This be the end of the third wave, but I just don't see it. And let me just put that there. But that is what I'm envisioning. And by the way, if you notice, from a timing perspective, if you were to look down here, this is right around summer of 2025. But I think from my price action up in this area, if I were to slide everything just a little bit to the left, I actually think we're going to be rolling over right around end of Q2 in 2025, which is right around May, June timeframe, which is where we would hit the top of this fifth level. And remember this, when we get up to this fifth wave, 100% of the time, there's going to be a corrective pattern. So here's the impulse wave again, wave 1, 2. I like the look of this third wave. Remember, typically third waves are twice as long as these first waves. And if you just it makes sense. Doesn't have to be exact. It's approximate, but this makes sense. And then at the end of every third wave is a corrective pattern. Then once you get up to these fifth waves, 100% of the time, right? And in XRP land, it's extremely high beta, high volatility. So potentially we could see price action coming back down to this $4 range per se. But again, first things first, we've got a really good problem on our hands, I guess, if that's a fair way to say it. But I'm going to leave it right here. And I think we're almost wrapped up with this technical analysis video. But I think the fundamentals are definitely aligning with these technicals. And to me, it's exciting times. It's time for some popcorn. I would not stress. I would just relax. And if you're not an XRP holder, I would wait. Again, if I were to do it, but I would wait until price gets above this neckline. If you want to add more to your bag, or again, if you're new to XRP, I would just wait. But if I were just to leave it this and have you take a look at this, to me, this isn't this is a beautiful looking chart with a lot of volatility. And the good news is I think the volatility is to the upside. So anyways, I hope that helps for all the XRP community. You guys are amazing. And if you need anything, any thoughts, comments, or whatever, please feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks so much.